Wow. I mean, I think right away, just looking in here, there's more people here than there is the World Championships. So, that just speaks volumes to what this program means to everybody. And I think, really right off the bat, my dad, I want to thank my dad. As a young kid, he was just wanted to make the best for me. He didn't really know what that meant. He just knew it meant to get me out of my comfort zone. We lived in Wyoming. I was a cowboy, right? Rode horses and I tried to stay on steers, but I fell off most of the time, but I got right back up. And that was the principles that my dad taught me. And it's honest. Look at him right here, and it just like many of the kids here in the future, the kids on the team and the future kids are going to come to Oklahoma State. Family is an extremely important value. And I wouldn't be here without my dad. My mom, Kathy, right there, same thing. I mean, we were on the road all the time and we were going to competitions and trying to do whatever we possibly could to seek out the best, because that's ultimately what I always wanted to do, is I wanted to be the best. And that family dynamic was what started all of this when I first started wrestling when I was 5 years old, which led me to meet my wife, Kendra. We wrestled each other when we were 10 years old. Funny story, when I woke up that morning, I had my very first ever back spasm. I couldn't even tie my shoes. And I'm looking at my dad, I'm like, what am I going to do? We're at the Reno World Championships. Obviously the Roller family had the Tulsa series, the Cliff King kickoff, the Reno World Championships. Those, when you're 10 years old, those are the World Championships. That's an important thing. I woke up, couldn't even tie my shoes, and I wrestled as a beast. I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? How am I going to win this match? But I pinned her. So at that point, I realized I had two choices. I win this match or I go home. And I found a way to get it done. But, we later down the road, we reconnected. My wife is extremely, extremely important in every decision that I make. And this has been a tough decision. It's been a tough decision. But my wife and my youngest daughter, Birdie, is right here. My two others, London and Ivy, they're at home. You guys are going to love them. They're full of energy. They'll tell you what their names are. They're going to be excited to meet you guys. I told them that we might be moving for a new house. And they said, well, we're going to have some horses. I was like, I guess we could probably get some horses. I mean, there's probably some people around here that can help us with that. If there's anywhere that can help us, it's down here in Oklahoma. So they're excited. But, the family dynamic is extremely important. And it's an important value that we want to instill in the current wrestlers, in the future wrestlers of this program. That's one thing when I walked in yesterday and I addressed the team and we talked to them, and it's a tough situation, very tough situation. And I felt like I could relate to it. When I was a senior in high school, I was going to Iowa State. And back then, it was a little different. And, Coach Cale Sanderson took the job at Penn State, and I was in a kind of a weird limbo. I didn't know what I was going to do. I felt like I wanted to follow him, but I wasn't sure. And I had to wait for the new coach to come in to let me kind of figure out what was going to be next, in my career. Coach Kevin Jackson got the job, and he allowed me to, pursue what was in my heart. And I feel like that was a decision that really changed wrestling. And I feel like I can understand to a little bit of what these guys have been going through. I can't 100%, it's a tough situation. But what I realized when I talked to them yesterday is it looked like family. These kids look like they really care about each other, and which is awesome. And we're going to continue to build on that. And we're going to continue to build on that moving forward. We want people to come to Oklahoma State because they want to come to Oklahoma State. You want to wrestle at Oklahoma State. You want to win national championships at Oklahoma State. We want team championships at Oklahoma State. And we want to stay and win world and Olympic gold medals at Oklahoma State. And I think that's what makes this place special. The administration, when we met with the administration, with Chad and Reed and Chad Richardson, obviously a huge supporter, as Chad had talked about, it was just the genuine passion. That was the word that I just kept coming back to. I was talking, I'm like, man, what was it like? I'm like, it's just genuine passion. How many athletic departments love wrestling like these guys love wrestling? Not many, if any. And you need that. We need that to be successful. And that's something that's special. They're going to pour into this program, and they're going to give us the resources to be successful. Coach Smith, a complete legend. I mean, I can't even call him John Smith. He's a coach. He's never even coached me before, but that's the kind of aura that he has. And to be able to be honored to even be considered in this situation, to follow somebody. And this job hasn't been available for 33 years. He's the greatest American wrestler that we've ever seen. So just, Coach, thank you for everything that you've done, the impact you've had in the wrestling community, the impact you had on me. You set the bar high of wrestling, coaching, and I'm very, very excited for this opportunity. I'm not going to take it lightly. Just want to say thank you. Thank you. I think right off the bat, I realized this is a tough challenge. This is a tough challenge, and to be honest with you guys, it is the most uncomfortable decision I've ever made. But just like training, just like when I was a kid, the best results come from being uncomfortable, and I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose anything that I do, and I'm very excited for what's ahead. But right off the bat, you want to surround myself with people that believe in what we're trying to do. And my brother-in-law, Jimmy Kennedy, and we announced him as associate head coach. Is a guy that's going to be with us, going to be pouring into these kids. Thomas Gilman, Thomas and I we just finished our competition career. And what I like about these guys is, their character is the highest that I know. And just from being around them, they're people that are selfless. And I think to be a great coach, you have to serve your athletes, and they're willing to do that. They help me understand that. And that's something that's going to be really exciting. And I think when building a staff, it's important to have coaches that are going to wrestle with the guys, because I think that's super important. I think it's important for these guys and for the future recruits. We're going to wrestle, and we're going to help you guys understand what it feels like to be the best in the world, what it feels like to be the best in the country, and we're going to help them the best of our ability, and that's exciting. There's a lot of other things that go into coaching. I learned those in the last couple of days. There's a lot of other things. But it's all part of that challenge. And I think that's where you're trying to surround yourself with people that believe in that same vision. And that's definitely really exciting. So when I kind of go back to Oklahoma State, I kind of talked about it a little bit. I was a young kid. I was coming down. Very first time I came down to Oklahoma to wrestle in the Cliff King kickoff. I think, was I 8 years old? Sound right? 8 years old. I started winning the regional stuff in Wyoming, and it's like, all right, well, you want to challenge yourself, you got to get down to Oklahoma. You got to see where you are. And it was one of those things where if you don't make weight, you don't wrestle, right? And I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. I weigh 55 pounds. I'll go 58. I get down there. I'm wrestling 58. These kids are weighing like 67 pounds probably. I'm like, whoa, I'm in a different world. And as time went on, you kind of adjust it. But one of the things that my dad did is he always tried to expose me to things. And at that time, I don't know what the connection was, but we came to Oklahoma State room shortly thereafter, and Coach Smith opened the doors, and I just watched. And I loved wrestling. I've always loved wrestling. And I just watched these guys wrestle. And it was just a different level of, at the time, anything I'd ever seen. Just the drilling, the pay attention to details. And I was a sponge, and I was watching everything. I was sitting in the corner of the room, and at the end, two guys came up to me, Daniel Cormier and Chris Middleton. And Daniel those you guys know Daniel. He's a jokester, right? Came over and just made me feel welcome. You didn't have to do that. And I thought that was really cool. And Chris spent like 10 minutes with me, showing me. I was watching him do something. And he spent like 10 minutes showing me some technique. And later in that tournament, I used that technique, and I teched and pinned everybody in the tournament. And I was like, that's pretty awesome. Hey, that's pretty good. If that's what wrestling's going to be like. You just learn something and do it, and works right away. Got a little harder as I got older. But Oklahoma State was something that I looked up to as a young kid, and when I was making my decision to go to college, it was a tough decision. I was actually in a car with Coach Smith, and I thought the airport was like 20 minutes away. I was pretty certain it was 20 minutes away. 4 hours later, I got dropped off. And I don't know where we went, and I'm sure Coach probably remembers it, but I think we drove all over Oklahoma. We went to a couple different airports. He told me the flights were delayed and canceled, whatever it is. But it was a tough decision, you know. But my decision to go to Penn State, it was at the time I felt it was the best thing for me, and I developed so many deep relationships there with people. And I believe it set the foundation for who I am as a man, as a father, as a wrestler. I'm forever grateful for everybody that was part of my life there. And it was obviously it was a tough decision to leave, but this is the best decision for me and my family moving forward. This is something that I'm extremely excited for. And when I vision Oklahoma State wrestling, like I said, I envision Oklahoma State is a place that every single recruit wants to come to school. They want to. And now we're on the top of the list. And it's a place because of the administration, the support, the history, the tradition, all of those things. It makes this place extremely unique. And, we have work to do. And I'm excited to get to work. I'm excited to build relationships with the student athletes that we have. I'm excited to build relationships with the future student athletes that are going to choose Oklahoma State. And when we sat down with these guys, they asked me, like, what does your plan look like? And I said, well, my plan is I want wrestlers to come to Oklahoma State because they believe this is a place that they can be the best wrestlers in the country while they're in college. And it's a place they can be the best wrestlers in the world when they're done. And, right off the bat, number one, to me, I think what is a down the road thing for a lot of places, and for us, I believe it's a foundation, is our RTC program. College wrestlers need to understand what it looks like and what it feels like to be around the best people in the world. As a coaching staff, I believe we bring that to the table. But we've got to coach. I think it's important to people to see what it likes to people that are training at that level and what it takes. It's not easy. I mean, to be the best in the world is something that is easily said. I want to be a national champion, be a world champion, I want to be an Olympic champion. It's easy to say, but to do it is different. I mean, you have to make the team, right? Once you make the team, you go overseas and you have to wrestle against all the best, one person from every single country, and you got to beat all those guys. Well, not all of them, 4 of them. And that's what a world champion is, and it's hard. It's something that you can't really understand what that is like until you've been around it. And we're going to have that here. And we want to have a path for the student athletes. They're going to come to Oklahoma State. They're going to win national championships. And when they're done, they have a future. They have a career. If you want to pursue that at the highest level, it has to be your full-time job. So the RTC is a foundation. Our very first order of business is Dayton Fix, staying at the RTC. We're excited about Dayton. I'm extremely excited about helping him, our staff, Jimmy and Thomas, and his goals. And, we sat down and kind of talked about what does it look like for him and surrounded him with people that can help do that. And as we continue to build out the RTC, it's going to be selective with the right group of people. And as our athletes finish, and if they have the same aspirations to be world and Olympic champions, then they're going to have a path and a place to do that. And I think that's important. In today's world, it's not about instant gratification. It's about working towards something. It's about knowing that there's a bigger goal always there. It's always about somebody in the room that can beat you. And that's what we're going to have here. And that's exciting to me to think about. As a competitor, I felt like that was something I was always able to be around. I always was able to seek out the best rooms and the best partners and the best coaches and all of those things. I mean, I've been blessed. One of the best high school coaches, in Jeff Jordan. One of the best collegiate coaches in Cale Sanderson, and I think you take a little bit from everybody and you start to craft your own style, and my style is a unique style of wrestling, and it's about scoring points and having fun, and I think that's something that's really important. We got to remind kids, wrestling is already really hard. Don't make it any harder than it needs to be. Wrestling's hard. We know that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be enjoyable. And the way that I've always found fun and enjoyment in wrestling is you just try and score more points than your opponent. That's it. Score more points. And if you're up by 1, just keep scoring. Score a couple more. We're up by 7, get to 8, get a major decision. Once you get 8, let's go get 15. Let's get a tech fall. And then we'll start working on pinning the guy. You know, and if you pin the guy before that, the match is over and you can get over on the side and life's a little easier. But we're going to work to score points. You know, we're going to have a system. We're going to have a system of how we get to our tie-ups. How do we get to our leg attacks? How do we finish our leg attacks? When we're on top, what are we going to work on top? We have a system. We're on bottom. We have a system. And a system is something that you find comfort in, right? When you're nervous and anxious about wrestling, which everyone's going to get there. I'm there. I'm there all the time. But you can find a little bit of comfort in your system. We're going to help develop a system for these kids. But Oklahoma State, it is the place to wrestle. And I'm excited to be a part of that. I'm excited. I'm thankful for the people that were able to make this happen. And I'm excited for the student athletes that are part of this program right now. And I'm excited for the student athletes that choose to wrestle here in the future. And we're going to build something great here. And I just want to say thank you.